Yo, what's up, guys? So today I got a little video. We're doing a video about some text editors, well, very specifically Helix, but I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with text editors, what I love and hate about them, all of the cool things. So, if you enjoy this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. I am here for you nerds. I am a nerd myself and I talk about nerd things, so let's get into it. Originally, when I got into Linux, I came fresh off of like Windows Vista or something, or like it was one of the older ones, or like 7 or something. I don't know, it was like 2011, 2012. I installed a good little Ubuntu, and I didn't really understand how it all worked. I just know that I could use like Synaptic or whatever they were using at the time, and I can get stuff installed and updated, and that's all I really cared about. Because the facilitation of Linux for me was to write music. And at the time, I was using a program called Renoise. It's a very cool program. It's a old school tracker program. I had learned tracker stuff when I was a kid, and I kind of just moved into like, using that. So fast forward a bunch of years, I finally have like a decent machine that I can like actually do stuff with. And basically what ended up happening was I was kind of like I had one SSD where I was running Linux Mint, and I had another SSD where I had my Windows 10 installed. And I would switch between the two so I could play games on Steam and do whatever, and then everything else, like if I was done playing games, I would switch over to Mint and just do all my stuff on Mint. And I picked up a couple different text editors from there. I kind of started out on VS Code, because I kind of just I was like I wanted to feel like a hacker man, right? And when you're a noob and you don't realize things about things, you don't realize that using a GUI text editor is the biggest noob thing you could ever do. Anybody that is coding or using Linux or really a computer in general, and you're using a GUI text editor, um, rethink your choices a little bit. First of all, they take forever to load. Second of all, they're genuinely ugly and like way too busy and they have way too much stuff going on. You're going to have 80% of the features that you're just not going to use, right? All built into this, and then it's just sitting on your machine. And then you have people like me who go around and troll the internet. They go on 4chan, they go on Reddit, they go on all these sites, and then they make fun of people for not using GUI text editors. So, to avoid all this, I decided one day that I was going to learn Vim. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna learn Vim. Oh, I should say, in between that, I used a text editor, which I still keep on my machine, Zed. This is the default editor that comes with Linux Mint. It's really straightforward. There's not a whole lot. There is syntax highlighting, which is cool. There's not a whole lot I can really talk or say about this because it's what do you call it? Very simple. Anyway, so I moved on to Vim because I'm like trying to look cool on the internet. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, I gotta use the Vim. I gotta get all the keybinds in. And I started using tiling window managers around the same time. It was probably like a couple of years ago. Like full time. I always messed around with them, but I kind of was stuck on Cinnamon or, Gnome or KDE or whatever. And anyway, I realized that the Vim keys, the Vim motions, are used a ton in tiling window managers. So at that point, I was just like, okay, I gotta learn Vim because it'll just transfer the same keystrokes and skills and the same ideas of things into so many different other programs. Like, for instance, the browser I use, Q browser, right? Everything I want to, open, like for instance, if I want to run a command, it's colon, just like Vim. If I want to scroll up and down the page, I'm using J and K. History, if I hold down Shift and H and Shift and L, it's gonna go forwards and backwards in the history. It's like, and then GG brings it to the top, Shift G brings it to the bottom. It's kind of like it's all the same kind of things as Vim. So this is important. It's important to learn the Vim motions and this and that. So, about, I want to say 6 or 7, actually, no, it's probably like 8 months ago now. I had been using NeoVim with nothing, right? It was just straight up by itself, NeoVim. And I was like, yo, I wanna have like all the cool stuff like the guys have. All the tree sitter stuff, telescope, the harpoon, you know what I mean? The themes, the cool status bar line. And so I went and I watched a bunch of tutorial videos, And I got really overwhelmed and I was like, yo, fuck this, right? So I installed LunarVim and I used LunarVim for a long time and I thought LunarVim was great. But it was still just like way too busy. Like it's got a bunch of stuff in it I just don't use. And the UI, ended up being super, super busy. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna go back to the drawing board. We're gonna nail down this Vim plugin situation. I'm gonna set this all up. I went back, I watched some more videos. Hold on, let me get a sip. I watched some more videos and I followed a couple tutorials and I got my NeoVim set up. And by the end of it, I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like, I don't know. There's multiple things I didn't like about it. It just didn't seem as fast to me. And I don't mean fast in the sense that like RipGrep wasn't doing its job and it wasn't searching for files fast. Like that was fine. It just didn't feel, I don't know. I just felt like roadblocks in it, right? So I had used it for a while and it was just kind of whatever. And then one day I had my a couple of different configs that weren't backed up on the internet. I had backed up on a little USB stick and I wasn't thinking. And I just uh flashed a ISO onto the USB stick and then I put it in the computer that the NeoVim config was on and I wiped the machine to put on I forget it was some random Linux distro, right? So I lost my NeoVim config and I just didn't care to remake it, right? And I made some videos and somebody in the comments was like, "Yo, you should try Helix." So I did. I tried Helix. I got it right here. This is how I have my Helix set up. You see how clean this is? It's so clean. It's so clean, so fresh. So I got stuff like this. And like it has all the same features as like a NeoVim, right? Except for it's already pre-built. You don't have to do nothing. It's all right there. You just set it up. There's a little configuration if you want. But in reality, right out of the box, it's good to go. You obviously just switch themes and stuff like that. It's a little different. Actually, we'll talk about themes for a second, just because I can do it. Okay, so in themes, right? If you want to do your own theme, here's a little trick. You come over here, that you go to opt, right? And in opt, there's going to be a Helix folder. You go to runtime, right? And down here, you got your themes. And these are all the themes that are listed, right? So basically what I do is I find the theme that's closest to the one that I like, and then I copy it. And then if you go into, let's go, oop, wrong one. Let's go into config. There's going to be a Helix right here. And you can make a folder or a directory called themes, and then you put your toml file in there, and that's where your theme can be. And then you can edit that toml file to whatever you want, right? The other thing is after you install Helix, you need to create this file right here, config.toml, and you want that inside your Helix folder in .config, right? And then here, you just tell it what the name of the toml file for your theme you want to be, and then you have other options here. I literally don't ever like this is copied off of their website. It's just this. It's very simple, right? And then after that, you're off to the races, right? So I mean, it's got all this sort of it's got all the sort of normal stuff you'd expect from the text editor. Now, a couple things that I really like about it. So whenever you open a menu, so okay, every action in modal text editors, there's a leader key, right? And what the leader key is for instance, if I press spacebar, it's going to bring up this menu. Now, if I press one of these other buttons, it's going to do something, right? So if I press F, that's my file picker. Now I can come in here. We can look up a config. Let's look up my i3 config, right? Now I got my config right here. If I go to G, this is like your go-to. So you can jump around, kind of like House of Pain, right? So you got all these different things you could do. I'll tell you a couple of my favorites. GW, right? GW. Wait, let me go back to the top. GW. And you see what happened? Now I have key hints. So, okay, let's give an example. Right here, floating modifier, right? This bad boy right here. I'm going to jump to this section. So if I go GW and then HG, now I'm on this line with it highlighted. So that's one way you can jump around. If you go here, like for instance, let's say I know on line 74 in this config file has like the keystrokes that I have for scratchpad set up. So if I do 74 GG, it'll jump to line 74. Well, actually, I guess I was off by a line or two, but yeah, and now I can come down to this part of the thing. So G is for navigating the inside of the file, right? So there's other ones. I think it's like, hold on, where is it? Shift W. This is kind of like your windowing. So, okay, let's say here I want to have another, like, I want to copy and paste things from this file into a blank file, right? So I do Control W and then NV, and now I have a whole nother one. And if I go Control WW, it'll jump back to this other one, and Control WW again will jump back to the new one. So now I have this. And now you can also be like Control W and then NS, and it'll split this horizontally. So now I have three different ones, right? And then if you do Control WQ, Control WQ, it'll close them, right? Pretty simple, pretty basic. So you have like the kind of multiplexer thing built into it. I never got so far with NeoVim to know if it has that in the plugins, but I'm assuming it does. I'm assuming it does. Like, why wouldn't it? Anyway, so I like that a lot. What are the other things that I kind of do? Visual mode, I still don't fully understand it, but I understand it good enough to know that, hey, I can select this line right here. I can press Y, or I can do YY to yank it, right? And then if I need to paste it into, like, let's say, oh, let's go like here. Let's see if I need to do this. I can, bam, now I have it pasted. So I can at least do that. And then DD deletes it. Let's get some of this. Well, I'm not going to save that anyway, but yeah. So it has all the same features that you'd expect from a Vim, you know what I mean? Or in, other things. But what it doesn't have is all the extra features that you don't use, that come along with stuff that you end up installing and maybe you don't care for it. And then going back in and redoing the config is like, do I really want to mess with this? Because like maybe it'll reload and then something will be broken, or, so it works out very, very, very nicely. Yeah, it helped me break through my whole roadblock of like knowing Vim and navigating Vim. And I should also say I am not using base helix. I'm actually using a fork. Let's see. Evil helix. I don't care, I spelled it wrong. It'll still find it right here. I'm using evil helix. So what evil helix is so in regular helix, the keybinds are different than Vim, right? And this kind of just is just a fix that makes it, with the Vim key bindings instead of the Helix key bindings. Which, if you're a person that's transitioning from Vim, obviously that makes it very fucking simple. I really, really didn't have to learn too much coming in here. But yeah, overall, I love it. I love it. It was real easy to get themed up. It was real easy to get installed and to get used to it. It's kind of becoming my go-to. What do we got going? Okay, there we go. It's kind of becoming my go-to text editor, and I'm not ashamed of it. Okay, other things on the table. So, Path of Exile 2 came out. I've been playing the crap out of it. I'm gonna start streaming it at some point. We just had a faux pas happen with one of my other machines. Basically, I was taking the CPU cooler off, and the little bar that clamps down the CPU in the socket was fucked up. So the whole thing came out and I didn't realize it. And I ended up scraping the CPU pins on part of the case, and I took out like 30 pins. This is my old CPU. It was a Ryzen 5 2600, right? Piece of junk. It's worth like $30, right? So I don't know. I was like, whatever, and I dropped the new CPU in, and then I was like, oh, I need a BIOS update. And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, I knew there was gonna be something I forgot. So then I'm like, fuck. So I bought a whole new motherboard and I bought a whole new power supply to handle the motherboard and CPU and the new graphics card I got and all this other stuff. And when I got it, I put the motherboard together. Everything went perfectly smooth. It's beautiful. It's black. You know what I mean? It's got all the things I can plug stuff into. And then I go to drop it into my old case, and because the new power supply I put in is literally like maybe 3 or 4 millimeters too tall, it won't fit in. So I ended up buying like a open case. It's like a modular, like horizontal thing where you can, mount all your stuff in there like you would normally do for a PC. But as the added bonus, I can buy another one of those cases and it's modular and they connect together and I can basically build a server rack out of it. So that's where my situation is. That's why I'm on the shitty machine. And then, when I get when I get this whole other thing set up, it's gonna be great. I'm gonna have a new computer, it's gonna be modern, and yeah. But yeah, Path of Exile is on the table. I'm gonna try to start streaming that a little bit. I'm thinking of doing like Saturday night streams, maybe, something like that, where like 3 or 4, maybe two in between 2 and 4 hours, I will grind Path of Exile too. So yeah, that's a thing. What other things outside of that? Oh, there's probably a good chance that I'm going to be releasing something on Bandcamp. I'll post it in the community tab. What else? What other things we got going? I think that's about it. I think I'm all caught up with all the things I wanted to say. If you like this video, please comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. I do have a Discord server. I will be putting the link to it in the pinned comments, and I'm gonna make a promo video or something. So feel free to join. We got some nerds in there. We talk about computer stuff. Obviously, we talk about Linux and terminals and tiling window managers and all those different things. If you need help, me and this other guy in there, we basically used everything. So feel free to jump in and try to like get some pointers, because we're here to help. Well, at least I know I'm here to help. I'm sure he'll have no problem. He's just like me. We could talk about this shit all day long. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to my day. I'm gonna enjoy the beginning of my weekend. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I hope you have a good night. Now it's time for your boy to go get some herbal refreshments. You know what I'm saying? Later, dudes.